What is up, guys? Yandere Neko here, aka the VTuber whose voice doesn't match their model, and recently Death Battle released Ash vs. Yugi as their season finale and 15th anniversary, so let me break it down for you. Starting off with Ash's analysis, admittedly, with how much information is thrown at you for both analyses, retention is kind of hard, but the most memorable moments was definitely pointing out Ash's raw physique, some of the jokes about the 4Kids dubs, and I really liked them bringing up the bond he has with his Pokemon, and that being the reason he's such a good trainer. They also had the joke where they avoided the shipping wars, which much better than how they handled it in Miles vs. Deku, because you see, with Ash, you can actually debate which Pokegirl's the best, but like when they did it with Deku, it's like Deku was obviously set up with Ochaka. Sorry, your Yaoi fan slop isn't like canon, but it's like this time it's actually kind of funny that they avoided the shipping wars because it's not based on delusion this time around. Now, maybe this is just preferred series bias, but I liked Yugi's analysis far better, be it the jokes about Season 0 being on straight demon timing, to jokes about the IRL code game, all the way to calling the herd of the codes kind of BS. My only real complaint is that they used the localization names for his friends. Although perhaps my favorite part of the analysis is them talking about the bond Yugi and Yami shared, and their final duel, and how Yami leaving should have showed that Yugi no longer needed to rely on him to show his bolder side. It was just great overall, nailed the dynamic, you get the iconic leaving shot, just perfect. Now, starting off with the fight, first thing I want to say is that Subaru in the background, ReZero episode, when? Because it has to be Subaru. I know that tracksuit anywhere. And he kind of has the hairstyle. Now, onto the fight. And one thing I will say is, Bowser v. Eggman did the army fight better. I understand that's very unfair, because Bowser v. Eggman is probably their best episode. I mean, when my only complaint is that it's not a matchup I'm particularly attached to, you did really well. But for this one, I just feel that there weren't enough specific interactions. I understand with all the things these characters can do, you can't do everything, but it feels like they kinda did nothing with these characters. There were about maybe 3 or 4 memorable moments all fight, which is bog standard for the episode. And you're looking at one of them right now with the standoff. Don't get me wrong, awesome shot, pure aura, but I just wish there was more specific interactions, like a wall of Kuribos, or catapult turtle launching Gaia. Maybe Ash could do something cool. I mean, the Incineroar suplex was memorable. You also got a Time Wizard cameo. Sure would be a shame if the agenda posting before release hyped this guy up only for him to do nothing. That's real fun. Additionally, I have mixed thoughts on them starting with Yami and then going to Yugi, because it does reflect the analysis how Yugi no longer needs Yami for it to be his border half. But there's a serious but to that I will get to with the next clip. On the other hand, I kind of would have preferred a back and forth between Yami and Yugi that they kind of hyped up in the analysis. Show their teamwork and their bond. But even that point has another but to it. And that is that on the other hand, if they did do that, they'd run the risk of making this a Character A featuring Character B episode, which it kind of is if I'm being honest. Thinking back to it, Yugi and Yami had all the moments. You had the "What do you mean them all" line, that from Yami. You had Yugi's Heart of the Cards moment, the "You activated my trap" card moment. It just like Ash, I just don't remember Ash having a lot of good moments in the fight. There's the shocked, who's that Pokemon? But that's not aura filled. There's the "You ready Pikachu" thing at the end, but granted I like Yugi more, so I'm gonna be honest, I'm an agenda poster. I don't mind if my preferred character gets all the good moments, but from an objective point of view, it's still a flaw in the episode. As for the death where they turn to stone, it's whatever. I'm disappointed because the agenda posting leading up to it got really dark. Yugi mind controlling Pikachu to kill Ash levels of dark, so I was kind of hoping for something needlessly edgy rather than respectful, but that's just me. That being said, I do feel it kind of drags out a bit. After the "You activated my trap" card moment, you knew it was wraps, yet it drags out for another 5-6 seconds. Which usually, if Death Battle drags out a death, it's to make it cathartic because the villain loses, or emotional because the good guy loses, or something, right? They're not just staring and smiling at the big beam of death coming their way, so. Also, circling back to my "at Pikachu killing Ash" comment, he technically did because of Magic Cylinder, so I kinda got my dark ending, just not in the way I hoped. And the conclusion was what everyone called it would be, that even assuming equal stats, which it's not, but assuming equal stats, spell cards and trap cards don't exist in Pokemon, so Yugi takes serious utility. Although one thing I'm disappointed they didn't bring up, I get it, really unfun answer, but Shadow Game goes Burr, Yugi had ways to win that made the monsters obsolete. He could make it a death game of Mahjong or poker if he wanted to. So I am disappointed they didn't bring up that technicality as well. And on to the next times. Starting off, we have what's gonna be Ichigo versus Yusuke. But not only are those Ichigo swords in the background, but Ben Singer later was asking on X about Ichigo versus Yusuke, so that's all but confirmed. We have a blue light that people claim to be Aang, and given that Aang versus Traveler still needs to happen, it's likely Aang versus the Traveler. We also have what appears to be this red and white thing. This might be Geats versus Nero, which, I always feared the day Fate would go on. Just because, for whatever reason, a lot of people like to make Fate matchups L's, and Fate's my favorite franchise, so it's like, great, we're going on and it's debatably an L. Everybody outside of Fate claims Nero loses, so that's gonna spike my blood alcohol levels. I'm joking, of course, It's not that serious. I do not endorse drinking. Be better than me. Granted, some people say this could be Baryon mode, so maybe Naruto v Ichigo. There's what's clearly an explosion, so Bakugo episode possibly. What appears to be Blood and Ash, so maybe a Denji episode, Yugi v Denji. Although now that JJK Modulo's a thing, that makes it tricky again, because at least with Yugi v Denji beforehand, you could say JJK's over, Yuji's not getting any stronger, give Denji a win, but now that's complicated. And lastly, a stock image of the stairs. That can be anything cosmic or sci-fi related. No guesses. Although, not related to the picture, but I know Gru vs. Megamind is still happening at some point. Same with Light v Columbo, but I believe that's technically a bonus episode outside of standard season lineup, so that could happen in Christmas for all I know. So in conclusion, I'd give it a 7 or 8, 7 out of 10 honestly. Like, it's not incompetently made, it just kind of felt like they did nothing. Again, I understand. You can't get everything with these kinds of characters, there's just too much. But it kind of feels like they went the opposite route and had no real memorable interactions. Feel free to disagree with me, like, share, and subscribe. I kind of put slightly more effort into this than usual, so catch y'all next time. Yandere Neko, going dark.